Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. So I expected there to be some extra questions on Mondays with Mr. Happy because of all the things that have been going on with the media tour and all that other stuff. I didn't expect 61 posts on the forums, so holy shit. So I've got a few rules we're going to lay out before we get started because I haven't read any of them. One, I'm skipping every question that's about White Mage. So if 40 of these questions are about White Mage, we'll get through them a lot quicker. Two, I'm only going to do the first question each person asks, just because we're going to try to get through as many of these as possible. And three, Twitch questions will probably not be happening this week, because that is way too many questions on the forums for me to get to my Twitch questions second. So with that out of the way, I don't want to burn any more time at the beginning. Let's get started. Let's see if we have 61 White Mage questions. Okay, first question. Here are some celery sticks to munch on. Enjoy. I like celery sticks. Do you run a lot of random raids in Record Keeper? Do you have a set group you stick with? I feel like most people just want to bring the damage or break utilities in random groups. I don't get to do that much other than heal and support. Yeah, that's pretty normal. I just do the low tier raids randomly sometimes. Otherwise, I do it with my stream, and it's usually like the same 4 or 5 people that we're usually doing the raids with together. On my Twitch Messenger server, we actually have an entire channel that's dedicated to Record Keeper, where people go there and do the raids together. So if you're ever looking for a group, just join our Twitch Messenger server and go to the mobile games channel, and that's basically the Record Keeper channel, despite the fact that it's not named as such. Alright, on to the next one. Greetings, Mr. Happy. Been a long time since I asked the question, so I have a bonus of creating one fight for any raid tier in the upcoming future. I'll take the super savage ones. Thanks. 2 semi-long questions. If it gets a bit long, feel free to pick one. Oh, don't worry, I'm only picking one, that's for certain. Currently a summoner main, extremely looking forward to Red Mage in the expansion. Rather than looking to just main that class, I was thinking of instead becoming a caster main. How hard would it be to keep up gear-wise with Best in Slot with the upcoming Savage? I think it's going to be way easier to keep up with Best in Slot in the expansion because of the way that they're sort of retuning the way that drops work, making sure you're always getting useful items, especially if you're trying to collect gear for all the casters. With the artifact gear now being sort of the intro gear into the expansion, and then the rest of the gear being shared amongst the rest of the casters, it's just a matter of maximizing itemization. So I actually think it's going to be pretty easy going into Omega Savage for you to come up with some best in slot lists that work for all the all the casters instead of just one. Okay, question roulette, I'm still going to have to pick one. Hey, Mr. Kinky. That sounds so bad. And besides, when I said it had an I, just keep that in mind. Heard you're in short supply of question roulette, so have another. The great DPS question. I'll just take the first one, why not? So basically the question is how to play DPS right. I thought it would be better to go more into detail with the question. So which one is the right order for optimal DPS? Oh, this is something that A is probably changing, and 2 depends on the job. Some jobs, their first thing is to do their buff. Like, for example, Dragoon starts with heavy thrust. They don't start with disembowel and then they do heavy thrust. They'll do heavy thrust into disembowel, into their dot, into their filler combo. That's pretty much the way that it works. But it depends on the job, because like for Black Mage, people are going to be starting with, I think Black Mages are going to be starting with Blizzard 4. It's part of their rotation, so they pull Thunder, Blizzard 4, Fire 3, and then they do their 10 Fire 4 opener in the expansion. So it depends on the job, but generally it's get whatever sort of generic buff you can get up first, and then unload everything with as many buffs available as possible to output the highest amount of damage, and then just maintain it until your buffs become available again. So far, easy questions. Hey, Haps, hope your Monday's going well. Sadly, no bonus for you. I deserve a bonus with all these questions. Question today is I pre-ordered the physical edition, and I recently got my email confirming. Okay, so you're not going to unlock any Stormblood content. You're not going to be able to download anything. I highly recommend that you check the official Lodestone. They actually detail all the pre-order stuff that you need to know in that post. So go to the Lodestone or to the video that I posted on Saturday that has the actual link to it, and that'll cover all the answers that you need to that question. Because of the way I answered that question, I'm adding another rule to the list, by the way. I'm skipping any question that has to do about, hey, my pre-order doesn't work, because that's another one that's just like, there's a post for that. That information is on Final Fantasy XIV's official channels, so I'll let you go through that one. Anyway, question. Hello, Mr. Happy. Welcome to your show where we ask you questions and you answer them, or get haircuts. Yeah, that works. First of all, I want to point out last week you asked what position you take if you work for Yoshi P, and you said you would lead a team that creates all non-standard content for the game. You do realize that that would mean you'd be personally responsible for Blitzball. No, because I'd be in charge and we'd never make it. You're damn right. That means it would never happen. I'm guaranteeing that. Anyway, now for the question. This week, not FF related. I want to start my own game review channel on YouTube, and I know what I want to do, but I can't seem to get the kick in the butt that I really need to launch it. I've seen many if not all your videos, I admire what you do. I was wondering, back when you were still working on non-YouTube Twitch-related job and making videos, how'd you manage to deal with your schedule? went to work, did it as a hobby when I came home. And besides, I didn't really do YouTube much when I was still working a job. I posted a video here and there, but it was super infrequent. It was mostly on weekends if I did anything at all, and it was barely anything. So it was just as like a spare time hobby, pretty much. That's what I did it with. And when I lost my job in New York City, that's when I just started pumping videos out, because what the hell, I don't have a job anyway. I might as well do something with my time so I don't drive myself insane while I look for another one. And look where it landed. You know, I found something that worked for me, something I was interested in, something I was passionate about, and now here we are today. So I'd say that it kind of all worked out in the end. Only 56 more questions to go after this. 55. Hey, Haps, not my first time asking, but I just saw Baywatch today, so I have a life-size cardboard cutout of Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Speedos. I'll take Dwayne The Rock Johnson, although Dwayne's right there, so, you know, whatever. But not in a Speedo, so I don't want that. On to the question. One of my favorite parts of the 3.x patch series is how they rework Titan hard mode into the main story. I agree. If you take any existing dungeon or trial and rework it in a 4.x, I liked how they did Titan hard mode. I would never opt in to wanting a primal to return to the main story, if that makes sense. I like it when the primal's there, it's done, and we don't work in an old trial. I'd rather see new stuff, you know, if that makes sense. So I don't really have a trial or an answer for you, really, in this regard. All right, hello, Mr. Happy. Hope you have had a great day. Me and my friends play on Japanese servers because if we play in the U.S., we get too much latency. With the change to the U.S., do you reckon we will get Oceanic servers? I don't know. I mean, Oceanic servers, like Australians have been asking for it more, and other regions in that area have been asking for it more. South America's asking for them now. Maybe, but there would need to be a very decent-sized chunk of people already there, plus a high level of interest from that area. So it's a matter of Square Enix seeing that, so if they see it, maybe you'll get it, you know? That makes things easier. Hey, Haps, Reggie here. Take a bonus of a triple pounder with onions. I'm so glad you said you decided to make it into a burger, because when you said triple pounder, never mind. My question is this. With the interdimensional rift coming, which of the 13 demons do you think we're going to see? So the thing is, a lot of them were already in the game. Twintanya is one of the 13 demons. Not that they couldn't rename them and kind of keep them sort of in line with things we'll see in the interdimensional rift, just give the Twintanya copy like a new name. I think we'll see most of them in some incarnation. I expect interdimensional rift to really pull a lot of bosses from Final Fantasy V's interdimensional rift. Good, easy questions. Moving through fast. Hello, Mr. Happy. Longtime viewer, first time asking questions. Your bonus is a limited edition cloud motorcycle mount that only you can have in 14. Great. The thing I don't want is I'm now the only one who can have it. All right, well, I guess I'll ride it around and look, I don't know, like a fanboy. I was just wondering what mounts you see coming into the future, and what lore, if any, support those said mounts. I don't know. I feel like I answered this in the last 2 weeks. I don't. So I've been playing Final Fantasy 11 lately as part of my 3-year part anniversary, trying to get all the storylines done. And there's a mount. It's just a tiny crab, like one of the tiny little crabs that like Bubbly Burning, but smaller, just the generic little crabs, not the big pinchy ones, just the tiny little crab. I want that as a mount, and I don't care what the lore is. I just want it to be in the game. 1/6 our way through. Hey, Haps, got a question after I help give a question from last week for another view. Okay, so I'm going to just take the second question then, because the second question is actually a question. My question is, so since we have 2 of the more highly sought after jobs, I know it's a ways off, but what jobs do you think they'd look to add now? Dude, I don't care what job they look to add. Give me my Puppet Master, all right? I'll design it. You know what? Go back to the question from last week. I'll design the Puppet Master job from scratch. Give me that job, Yoshi P. I'll make it so good and unique without being overpowered. I promise. It's going to be overpowered. I lied. But that's what I want to do. Hey, Mr. Happy. E. Ballard from Twitch here, and how are you? I'm fine, by the way. Thank you for answering now. I'm doing good as well. Long-time viewer, first-time asking, so please accept my first-time bonus of going back to the gym. I need it. I need it. Following question about healers not DPSing from a different perspective. If they implement a healer job without any DPS skills instead of full support job like heals, buffs, debuffs, and all kinds, let's say Dancer, would it be the dream healer for that kind of player? I mean, it has to be. If you literally are incapable of putting out damage in your job, first of all, impossible, because you basically have to unlock the job at max level and you'd never be able to do any content that isn't just group content. But I know it's a theoretical question, so I'll take it yes, because if you can't do damage, then no one can complain that you can't do damage. You just do all the other things. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm actually shocked I'm 13 questions in and there's not a single White Mage question yet. But this is from May 29th, so let's wait till after the fucking 31st questions. Holy shit, we have this many questions? We haven't even gotten to the questions that happened after the May... Anyway, how you doing? This question isn't 14 related, but I'm interested to see what you think. So me and my friends play PSO 2 on and off. It's a very easy game to get into due to the fact it's free. It's a great English patch, and it's been an active English community. You don't even need a VPN. Have you ever considered checking it out? I have. I'm just not a fan, man. Not a fan of PSO 2. I know it's easy to get into. It's just not particularly interesting to me. If it came over here, maybe I'd play it, but I'm not interested enough to like do this whole English patch and all this other stuff for it. Hi, Mr. Happy. One Final Fantasy, one not Final Fantasy question. I'll take whatever I said. I'll take the first question. We're just going to do the first question. I've always wanted to do YouTube work and game stuff. However, I don't know where to start and how to build a community. So I was wondering if you ever thought of starting a mentorship program thing where you do things like a class or apprenticeship thing. So the problem is, if I were to do like a class and people were to take that class cannot guarantee your success in any way. Because honestly, a lot of the answers to building a community on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, are super generic. You need to, A, get people to pay attention to you. B, you need to create some sort of structure in which people can communicate with each other or be constructive or help each other or whatnot. And C, you just need to do it constantly until it finally clicks and it gets noticed by more and more people. So, like, there are ways to go about doing that, you know, starting a forum, you know, doing a YouTube channel, having a Twitch channel, but still it requires exposure to really build a big community. So unless you're going out and you're doing like the cold calls, trying to, you know, get people interested in it by advertising a bunch of places, which is frowned upon by a lot of people, it can be super hard to do. So I've never really thought about doing that because I don't feel like it's something that has as specific an answer that yields an actual tangible result most of the time. And I feel like that's almost like a false promise to say, hey, this is the class on how to do this, when there really is no guarantee. That was just the first page of questions. Hey, Happy, how you doing? First time askers have a bonus of a time machine so you can go back and stop yourself from saying kinky. No, I'm glad it happened now. So I'm just going to go into the bold. How would you recommend gearing up alt jobs that will be getting to 60 after the launch of Stormblood as someone who can't afford to just buy I-250 gear? So don't forget that Poetics are going to be the sole resource of all your level 50 to 60 Tombstone gear. So Poetics is being nice and easy to get, I imagine, and I'd imagine you get it from all level 50 and 60 content, not just from level 60 stuff. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Just a bunch of Poetics. I don't see any other real, method of doing it. Hello, first-time asker, long-time viewer. 2 questions. Only going to take the first one. Not sure if you've been asked this before, but with the upcoming changes, do you think that they should make Scholar and Summoner stat pools separate? Well, this question came before that was actually revealed, but they do have separate pools because the bonus attribute system is gone. So you don't have to worry about respecing anymore in the expansion. Hey Haps, 2 quickest questions. In regards to the recent amount of talk about healers DPSing, what are your thoughts on a new healer class that heals through DPS? I've wanted that. My original pitch like 2 years ago on YouTube was that Geomancer be a healer that heals through DPSing. It's not, you can't really rely entirely on it, and I'm thinking of, was it Discipline Priest? Smite healing? Yeah, I think that was in World of Warcraft. Like, you can do it for tiny bits of healing, but you do still need dedicated heals, and it's a matter of being balanced around doing that. Yeah, you mentioned it here, Discipline Priests. There you go. Yeah, I've always been okay with the idea of that. I always liked the idea of the Smite healing. So, yeah, I suggested that years ago. I'm still down for it. Hello, first time asking here, but I've been watching your videos ever since I started playing around 2.4. I've always preferred your detailed guides. Thank you. I'm sure this has been covered at some point, but if not, what are your thoughts on maximizing your job's specific role and content that isn't bleeding edge? I think a lot of people put too much emphasis on maximizing your role in not bleeding edge content. Here's the thing. In bleeding edge content, you could argue that's the place where it makes the most sense because you're trying to, overcome a much more difficult encounter. In casual content, though, on the opposite side, you could say it's the easiest to do there because the content's so not bleeding edge that, if anything, it's just you're bored otherwise. You know what I mean? So there really are 2 sides to that coin, and either way, I totally get the argument for either or. But in non-bleeding edge content, if I'm doing a dungeon with 3 other people, I notice the healer's not DPSing, I might say to myself, like, not even in party chat, just like out loud, like, all right, healer's not DPSing, this might take a little while longer, but that's the end of it for me. As long as we're then not also dying to them not healing enough, then we're okay. Then if they can't do either, then it's a little bit more of a concern. But I don't think it's that necessary to do. Like, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on it, and I don't think that emphasis is needed. On this Monday with Mr. Happy, I would like to know your thoughts on this situation and how to prevent it. With the release of Heavensward, it was a pain to have to farm crafting mats from mobs with all the competing players, all fighting for the exact same mobs. Deep Eye Tears, Yak Milks, and all the various skins. What Square Enix increases the HP of the mobs by a lot and guarantees a drop of mats to whomever participated. Well, you don't guarantee. You shouldn't guarantee loot because then it destroys any potential market for it at all. However, anybody who does participate enough does have a chance to get drops the way it works currently. So, I mean, it's whatever, you know. I don't really see a need to just increase the HP of mobs. Like, those items are still entering the market. It's the way you obtain them. Are you going to buy them? Are you going to farm them? That's up to you. You know, that's not up to them to make it so that these mobs that drop crafting materials, which is almost every mob, specifically have more HP so that you don't have as hard of a time farming them just because that's the method you prefer. Hello, Mr. Happy. I was hoping you'd be able to answer this for me. If you use a story jump potion, do you get all... Oh, so all these things we don't know. I'm just going to say that right now. If I had any more questions about story jump potions, about what items you get, can you go back? Any about the items at all? Again, I'm going to skip those because it's information we don't have yet. Moving on. Hello there, Mr. Happy. I'm new here, so I have a first-time bonus of a special Fantasia that turns everyone else into a Lalafell. That's evil. You're a genius. An evil genius. An evil potato. My first question is that due to all the drama when the new housing plot's released and some people miss out on a plot simply because congestion gives them login errors and whatnot, with that being somewhat unfair to those people due to things being out of their control, do you think it would be possible for Square to have the new housing area for Stormblood set behind some sort of timer to unlock after everyone is already in the game and playing? I think it's going to end up working that way anyway. It won't be right as Stormblood goes live. I hope you know that. It will be several weeks later. I'd have to imagine that it's going to work the way that you're possibly suggesting. If it was possible, I think it'd be a good idea to use. Yeah, I mean, it's still, people are going to complain like, oh, it goes available at 10 a.m. and I'm working. You know, you can't please everybody, ultimately. So as long as it's happening while the servers are available, then it should be okay. All right, we're now 2/6 the way through. Surprise, Happy Hap. Bet you thought you'd seen the last of me. So, Hap, we've taken a look at the past for the story of 14, and we've looked at your present thoughts of the expansion. Now it's time to take a look at the future. For the last question in the trilogy, it's a simple one, but probably the most difficult. What are you looking forward to the most for Stormblood? I just like shiny new things. But if I had to pick one thing in particular, I actually really want to see how Eureka pans out. Because Eureka the Forbidden Land, being pulled directly from Final Fantasy III, there's nothing to really pull on how the content will work there. We can't even really use the diadem because it's being utilized for a very different purpose from the way the diadem was utilized before. And I'm curious to see if creating its own zone for the next type of relic weapon is a successful venture, because it's something that is, you know, people said we're tired of farming old content, so we'll give you brand new content. But does that make the landscape for it better or worse? That's the question that we need to answer. Alright, hello Mr. Happy, this is Final Sim and welcome to my question on your channel. Since you're such an amazing man helping many players and continue to do so, you get a bonus of I-500 gear named after you. I think people will just deliberately not get that gear because it has my name in it, but thank you. For this week, I have two questions. One about 14, I'll just take the first one. Don't you think we need a bigger bus size? Nope, 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 nope. We need bigger butt sizes. You're at the wrong place. Alright, next one. Hello, Happy. Exploration question for Stormblood. As of the time I'm asking this, both the job action trailers and the Tour of the East trailer have been released, and we've seen in-game footage of Alamigo from the outside. I myself love exploring the new cities, but with all the talk about Kugane, I keep seeing people post about how we won't actually explore the inside of Alamigo. So they're being very mysterious about Alamigo. They're specifically saying things like they don't want to reveal too much about Alamigo. Is it a dungeon? Is there something else, some other content that's tied behind it? They have been very mysterious. So I don't think it'll be as simple as us just liberating Alamigo and going into it. Because you have to remember, Kugane is a natural area that is new. I'm sorry, it's a neutral area where the Garleans don't own it. Alamigo is something we're fighting to liberate. Doma is something we're fighting to liberate. So how we actually interact with those liberated areas is not known yet. So we'll have to see if it actually pans out that those are battlefield type areas where we have to actually annex the city and control it, or if they are areas that we'll get to actually explore. Hey Haps, okay, I see a lot of bolded, so I'm just going to take the first one. Seems parry and accuracy have been completely reworked. What does that mean for the material related? The material related to those stats will automatically change when the expansion comes out. That's another question. By the way, if I have to say, if it's repeat questions, I'm just going to skip them because we're still only like almost a halfway through all the questions. God dang, Mr. Happy. First time asker, so my bonus for you is any mount from any other game exclusively for your use. I don't know. Bill. then I got to take the crab. If I don't get the crab in 11, I'm taking Bill from Final Fantasy 11. That's my crab mount. A little bit of backstory, very minor for my question, is that I had a friend that tried to get into 14, didn't work out. He only played a little bit, but complained all the fights were too boring, not enough flashy stuff or mechanics. So my question is, what in your opinion, in the fight, is the game with the most stuff going on? Brute, Justice, Savage, A8 Savage. You want him to see a fight that's got too many fucking things going on at once? A8 Savage, my friend. Look no further than that. Next one. Hey, Happy. I'm going to say now, but sorry for this book of a question. If there's should include a TLDR at the end. Took your advice, post on different forums, spamming in Party Finder, keep running the same block of not having 812 set. So that's going to be a problem now. That will not be a problem in several weeks. People are going to be looking for you to prove that you know your job in several weeks. So definitely look to do that. You can still keep looking for groups that are interested in new raiders now-ish, but same deal. I mean, I said it's still going to be tough because people are always looking to 812 Savage as a raiding requirement. That's because the only people still raiding are people that are probably people who are farming. So I would start looking for your raid group then probably a little bit after Stormblood launches, when people are starting to create new raid groups, and maybe look for people who are new to get into raiding for Stormblood. Next one. Hey there, Mr. Harpy. I don't want to be a Harpy. So now we're seeing UI elements added. Do you think we'll ever see UI elements added to specific fights? Yeah, I don't see why not. We have the specific UI element, as lame as it is, for A11 Savage. So yeah, I don't see why not. I just hope that in the future, they're more interesting than A11 Savage. Next one. Hello, Mr. Happy. First time question. Long-time viewer, big-time fan, and always a defender of the Happy way. This being my first time, have a bonus and maxed out tomes for the first few weeks. Oh, that's going to save me so much time. And then I'll have no one to do content with because they'll all be farming tomestones. Feels bad, man. One, do you think 14 needs more mid-core content? So, yes. I think we're going to be getting a little bit more of that, but not a whole lot more in 4.x. But I feel like there's no good stepping stone going from being someone who just does dungeons and it's your roulettes every day or things like that to getting into raiding. There's no good stepping stone. You know what the stepping stone is? Extreme Primals. And even that's not a great stepping stone. There's nothing that really gears you up and teaches you the more interesting particulars of interacting with 7 other people in a raid team. So yes, I think that specifically we need that level of content to act as a stepping stone into raiding for people who don't really have another way of gauging whether or not they're ready to get into that content. 2 pages are done! Hello, Happy, long-time viewer, first-time asker. Thanks for the hard work. So for the bonus, I give you a rain of chakra stacks and infinite GL3. Yes! If I have infinite GL3, I'll use Tornado Kick on cooldown. Yeah, buddy. I wanted to know what you think of the position of casters in Stormblood. They took away Foe, our only synergy with Bard. Seems to me that they gave a lot of physical buff to everyone and even to some casters, but nothing really to incite people to play casters. This has been noticed by a lot of other people, and I totally feel for you on that one. You gotta remember that Foe's is all damage. It's not like it's gone completely. But yeah, it's kind of weird. There isn't a whole lot of things that resonate with magic damage. But that might be because magic damage... I don't know if they've changed the calculation on enemies, but magic damage naturally does more per potency on enemies than physical damage. But to me, that's not really a good reason not to have a lot of synergy with magical damage output. We'll see how it actually ends up panning out, but I do agree that it feels like they gave a lot of love to physical damage in a lot of the new skills and didn't give a whole lot to the magic damage. Next one. Hey, Mr. Happy. Instead of a question this week, just want to say thanks. Well... I feel bad because I'm trying to speed through all of these, and now I feel bad, but I'm glad to see that your channel has slowly been growing. You've been having some fun times, but I'm glad that you have the confidence to keep streaming, to keep creating content as I skim through this real quick, and hopefully you're looking forward to Stormblood because we got a lot of stuff planned. Next, Hi Haps have a yummy Pokeball. Mel's a big fan of Pokeballs. Me, actually not so much, so I'm going to give that to her, and she'll say thank you. 1, will you be attending KupoCon event on the West Coast? Okay, so I actually am not great with geography, as if that's a surprise to anyone. I almost said geometry, by the way. Is Toronto on the West Coast? Because I'm going to the one in Toronto later this year. If Toronto's on the West Coast, then the answer is yes. If it's not, then I don't know. By the way, I got my answer from my Twitch chat. The answer is no, Toronto's on the East Coast. So no, I guess I'm not, because I'm going to one in Toronto. Anyway, next one. Yo, Mr. Haps, how's it going, Holmes? Did you know that pirates would wear an eye patch, not necessarily to cover a lost, damaged eye, but rather as a form of old-school night vision? Okay, I'm going to go to the question now, because that's not actually a question. Request. I got an old friend, 14, thought it would be really cool for him to hear his character's name come out loud. Is there a question here? There's a request and a question. So his name is Nano Etratel. That's horrible pronunciation from me, but there you go. Nano Etratel. Does Mr. Happy have time in his busy schedule to enjoy TV series such as House of Cards, Game of Thrones, or anime? The only anime I watch is Dragon Ball Super, and to me it's because when I grew up with Dragon Ball Z, I didn't know what anime was. It was just a cartoon to me. So it's really the only anime I can watch nowadays because it's just affiliated with my childhood. So Dragon Ball Super. I've also watched a lot of series like all the Gordon Ramsay series, Master Chef regular, not a big fan, but I've watched through pretty much all the other ones at this point. Also watching the F Word with Mel as we speak. And then I've enjoyed Lucifer. I'm not a big Game of Thrones guy. I think I've seen the first season of House of Cards. I've seen all of Breaking Bad. I've seen all of Dexter. I've seen all of Lie to Me, which is not a great example. But yeah, I have time here and there. Mostly I like to enjoy esports in my spare time. But yeah, I try to make time for all those little different shows whenever I do have the time. Oh, we're over halfway through. Hey, Haps, I know you have a lot of questions this week, so here's a short question roulette. Final Fantasy IV... Oh, is this... I'm a cutie pie. It's so great. Were you surprised at all by the viewership of the live letter? If I'm not mistaken, the 14 was the most popular channel on Twitch at one point and had more viewers than I'm a cutie pie. Likely the most popular streamer on Twitch. I don't think I'm a cutie pie is the most popular streamer on Twitch. He's one of the most popular in the League of Legends sub area. Also, I'm a cutie pie, plays Final Fantasy 14, or has played it, I should say, and he's considering playing Stormblood, by the way. No, not really, because everyone in the 14 community was so desperate for information that I'm not really surprised all that much. It's going to be interesting, though, because there is a lot of Twitch attention for Final Fantasy 14 right now, especially with all the sponsored streams going on, a lot of other streamers looking at it and picking it up. So it's been really nice. It's been a nice boost to the directory, and I'm hoping that continues to pan out throughout Stormblood. Oh man, next one, long-time viewer, second time asking a question. I think the last time I asked a question was 2 or 3 years ago. Oh, I know who you are. Hey, you only have one post on the forums. That means you were asking before we had forums. 2 questions, but seeing as this is after released info, I can understand if you don't have time to answer both. First question is, when Stormblood comes out, I plan on sleeping all day Thursday, waking up for an hour or two, and then powering through Samurai. I know this isn't healthy, but as someone who streams, plays a lot, what are your recommendations when it comes to breaks and staying hydrated? Staying hydrated is simple. Get some water. This is my water cup. Get some water. Just get like a fucking 12-pack, 24-pack of water and just keep it next to you. You literally can't have an excuse for not drinking water if you just keep the water right next to you. So do that. Get a shit ton of water. Take breaks every so often. Get up, stretch your legs, use the restroom. Go cook some food. Take a break. I mean, it's literally just common human sense, but I know like when we get wrapped up in video games, it's really easy not to do that. And take a break however often you want. 30 minutes is recommended. Hour is like kind of normal. But as long as you're getting up occasionally, it's okay. Just don't be like every 6 hours is my break. You know, it's like an hour or two is generally like the maximum that you should be looking to go. And don't fucking drink a shit ton of energy drinks and coffee. Drink water and have some caffeine. Don't just fucking pump caffeine into your veins and nothing but that for the duration of the launch. That's not going to go over the way that you think it's going to go over. Next one, hey, Mr. Happy, first-time asker, long-time viewer of your questions. I have a question. It is in the quotation marks. Okay, I don't see any quotation marks. My first question is, I've seen some speculation about Vitality losing its share of outgoing tank damage. That is true. Strength is now a 1-to-1 ratio for your damage. However, you cannot wear strength accessories as a tank in 4.0. So all the strength you get from your left side gear will be the strength that goes into how much damage you deal. And for paladins, I guess the shield as well. Next one, good morning from Ireland. Happy, good morning to you as well. My question is, with the new rescue ability, do you think it will interrupt some boss mechanics that stun a party member? That's a good question. You could rescue a stunned party member. That's a use for it no one's really talked about because everyone's just talking about trolling. I'd have to imagine that something that drops you in the cage probably won't work on that. It's gonna always prioritize the boss pull over you. But for other things, I can imagine that being somewhat useful in other scenarios that's stunned, but not necessarily scenarios where you're being pulled to a location. That I don't think it'll work for. All right, almost 2/3 of the way through. Hey, Mr. Happy, greetings from a disgruntled white mage in Taiwan. I guess I haven't actually taken a white mage question yet, so I may want to take this as the only white mage question. When do you think we will hear from the development team on whether or not they think the community concerns over the white mage are legitimate enough to warrant a change? And do you think that if major overhaul of the system is needed, like many feel, will we be seeing in 4.x? I expect you to not have to worry about a whole lot. If it's not changed by 4.0, it'll be changed by 4.1. It won't be changed in 5.0. That being said, they actually did create a forum consolidating all the feedback, and they are looking at it. So I don't expect 4.0 White Mage to be awful compared to what we saw, but I do expect that if they need anything, they'll have it by 4.1. Next one, howdy, Mr. 1227 happies. First time bonus, unlimited battle voice IRL. What does that mean? What does battle voice do? There you go. Stormblood changes. I mostly play Ninja in the post level 54 world, and it looks like the videos, the dancing edge is gone. That is true. Even if it does something totally different, I really like this in 14 in the animation, the nostalgia of 11 SATADE. No, it's completely gone. It's completely gone, and the slashing effect was put onto Shadowfang. Next one, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. First time poster, so I have a bonus of an 8-hour loop with a play online piano theme. Dolphin, no. With that said, many questions about Stormblood. Best you can do. Just to clarify, is the secondary stat priority for most jobs the following? Crit, hit rate, spell speed, skill speed to a certain threshold, then determination? No, that's not true for most jobs. And you're talking about in 3.x, because in 4.x, hit rate is being replaced with direct hits. So it's very different. Crit is higher than most on most jobs, but a lot of them have a skill speed threshold they want to hit. It's not that skill speed necessarily holds higher value, but it holds higher value up to a certain point. But it's generally, and in 3.x, technically, you want to make sure your accuracy is capped before you think about any other stat, which you won't have to worry about in the expansion. So it's probably going to be, crit's probably going to reign supreme, but we really need to get in and test changes to certain jobs to know how skill speed and spell speed are going to work, because all the formulas are going to change for all those stats. So until we've had time in the expansion to test them with things like ACT over thousands of uses, it's not really going to be solid information. Hello, Mr. Happy. Beyond the curse here. No bonus today. I have a bedtime story read to you by Pook as he tucks you in after a hard day of using the duty finder. Aw, thanks, Pook. I have a question about my light farming and its effect. I'm struggling to progress with my I-260 Astro weapon. I was hoping you'd offer some sound advice in conclusion. Between college work, I have a few hours to squeeze in, and I also play on Primal, even though I'm from Northern Ireland, so the use of the party finder can be slow sometimes when I do get free time. Anyone's average best way to farm light? No question. Recently, I've had nothing but salty groups who disband after one wipe. You're wiping an A1 Savage? I would probably disband too. I'm trying to stand Stance Maker for the lack of DPS. It's out of my comfort zone, but I'm finding, my question is, what should he do? I hope for better groups, man. I mean, you could do other content. It's just A9 Savage. If you have the experience, if you find an A9 Savage farm group, that's also good. If you don't have any experience, it might be a little bit rough. But I mean, A1 Savage, it's like, it's so easy. It's just, it's so good. It's great. Just, I try and find a better group. Next one. Hello there. Enjoying all of your Stormblood content. Nice work. Thanks. Wanted to ask you about something that really bothered me in Heavensward that looked to be happening again in Stormblood. In Heavensward, they launched a normal mode. It was easy content. People blazed through. They farmed it. By the time Savage came out, all the mystery and anticipation of the unknown was gone. That was a massive turnoff. Do you really feel like normal mode of the raid killed Savage experience at all? Not really, because Savage is there for the difficulty. If you want to be a raider, then that's what Savage is for. Savage isn't for the story, whereas the Binding Coil was for the raider and the person who wanted the story. You now have normal mode for the story, and you have Savage mode for the encounter. So no, I don't really feel like it did. However, it does make the feeling of defeating a boss, knowing that it's just sort of like a make-believe encounter, a little less satisfying to those who want to tie in the Savage difficulty encounters to the actual story of the raids you're doing. Next one. Hello, Mr. Happy, longtime viewer, and not my first question, but I want to give you Ash Retainer's wallet. Oh, I wonder how that's $1 billion right there. So thanks. I know that you're very happy with the bar changes. I'm still worried. By removing Hawkeye and Flaming Arrow, I feel like we are going to notice it. You're not really, because you got to remember, you're losing Hawkeye and Flaming Arrow. Look at what every other job has had changed. You know, Summoner and Scholar, they don't have 100% uptime on Shadow Flare anymore. It's instant cast. It's off GCD. But they can't reposition it, and they don't have 100% uptime on it anymore. What else did they lose? I mean, you got to look at, you know, Dragoon lost, what did Dragoon lose? They lost internal release. Monk lost Blood for Blood. You know, a lot of jobs lost a lot of things. You know, Black Mage and Summoner both lost Raging Strikes. I won't want to say they lost Quelling because of Diversion, but you know what I mean. And they lost Raging Strikes. A bunch of jobs lost a bunch of things. So just keep in mind that while in a bubble that looks bad now, you got to remember how it functions compared to all the other job changes in the expansion. So I don't think you really should be worried at all about losing those specific tools when a lot of other jobs have seen changes that are comparable. Next one. Hey, Mr. Happy, first time askers have a bonus of all the gil that, anyways, you have 700k. I was wondering if you think Black Mage should get a raise or not. I mean, at this point, it's the only caster that doesn't have one. But that combat res is nice. But it's like, nah, I don't know. I don't really feel like Black Mage just needs one just because the other two have it. It's not like a utility. Like, I'm never thinking, oh, I want a summoner for my raid group because they have res. I'm thinking, okay, I have them, and they have res. That's nice, but I can get I can get around without it. I'm not like sitting there like, yes, we need this extra battle res, unless it's like some stupid cheese encounter where having that extra battle res is actually like a god tier thing to have. So no, I don't really feel like you just need to give it to Black Mage because Black Mage doesn't have it. Another reason, and my chat brought this up, why Black Mage probably shouldn't get a res, they technically have infinite MP, so it would probably be pretty overpowered if Black Mage did have it. Next one, Ahaps. It has been over a year now since my last question, so you can have a returner bonus of 500 new tombstones for when early access hits. I'm digging it. On to my question. Scholar lost a lot of its AoE damage capabilities in Stormblood. Only 2 dots spread, Shadow Flare uptime halved, Miasma to return, no access to Blizzard 2, and a huge Bane nerf. Seems way over the top because Astral and White Mage can still output good AoE numbers. Does not affect raid performance by much because most of the fights don't require AoE damage, but it has a massive impact on dungeons. I see no point in giving Scholar a glaring weakness that has nearly no impact on their spot in the raid meta. I don't know. For me, it's like dungeons are the content where it matters least. So, sorry? You know what I mean? It's just like, I get it. White Mage is now, I think, the highest personal DPS throughput of all the jobs, but it's just that Scholar will provide an overall higher on raid bosses with the buff on top of their healing plus DPS uptime, and Astro provides the balance, so it'll be better in that case. So, you still have AoE, it's just not as good. You know what I mean? So you just won't kill them as fast. You know, that's what it is. Next one, Yo Happy. The new PvP sets let you cram a combo into one button to keep. No, okay, so this is going to be, can we get this for PvE? I'm going to tell you right now, no. The main reason why you probably won't ever see one button combos for PvE, and don't say macros. Don't macro these. Don't do that. It's bad for your DPS. Don't do that. But anyway, the reason why you won't see it for PvE, PvP is a dynamic experience. Every time you go into PvP, the experience will be different. Your goal is to analyze the current things that are happening, formulate a response that leads to a victory. So the less things you have to worry about while you're doing that, including going through your 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on what combos you have, helps improve that experience where you're able to react a lot more. Another thing is, with PvE, it's all scripted to some degree. You know exactly how the fight is going to go for the most part, minus who gets targeted by what skill. So there's really no variance there. So that's there to make sure that you actually have to be good at your job in Final Fantasy XIV. You have to make sure that if you dedicate yourself to a decision, that you're going to go all the way through with it, and that if you do screw up, there is some sort of backlash to it for you. So that is the main reason why you're going to see those always separated for PvE and PvP, and you'll probably never see that actually happen for PvE skills. Oh man, almost 50 questions in. Hello, Mr. Happy. Thank you for all the reporting you've done about the Media Tour. Looking forward to playing Stormblood. Yeah. Given the numbers of posts, I'm going to only ask one question. You are a saint. For Paladin changes, a lot of things have been said about their performance. However, another aspect is class dynamics. Paladin's getting some off-global cooldowns plus gauge bar. I think this will increase the enjoyment in playing Paladin beyond the classic 1 of 3 combos plus cooldown that currently has. I think the idea is that people who enjoy Paladin, their fantasy is being the sword and board tank. It's being the main tank, the big protector. So giving them more tools to achieve that, which is something you really don't get from your global cooldown skills, is actually an accurate way for them to take the fantasy. They give them a little bit more DPS with their with the Holy Spirit. They gave them a little bit more in the terms of the way they can balance their buffs, their magic buff versus their physical buff. And they got some really good damage output because of that, and they have really good defensive ability. So I think Paladins are going to have a really, really good time when the expansion actually comes out. Alright guys, next question. Hey Haps, hope your voice is recovering, and thanks for all those embargo videos. Not a first-time asker, but nothing wrong in giving a tip, right? Giggity. So you can have early access ticket to Spider-Man Homecoming. Yes! Yes! Anyway, I was wondering if you could rehype me for Ninja. I was super stoked until I watched your embargo videos. My main issue is the way you fill the gauge. I mean, mainly filling it with auto attacks can't feel very satisfying. Sure, Mug helps out too, but that's a 90-second cooldown. So we actually did a little bit of math on the Ninja. On average, you'll take about 2.1 to 2.2 seconds per auto attack with Huton available, excluding other attack speed buffs like Arrow or Fey. With that auto attack, it actually almost lines up perfectly with your rotation up to a point several minutes into the fight, where basically you have just enough to use the right skills at the right time. Your opener, you'll have 80 Ninki about 19 seconds into your opener, about 19 to 20 seconds in. So you can start the fight with a ninjutsu. You could probably do Raiton to start the fight, and then Suiton, and then Tenchi Jin, and then about 30 seconds from there, you'll pull, you'll get enough for another use. In that case, you could use Bavakakra. That'll line up, or it begins to get close to lining up with approximately your second trick attack. I think we mathed it out that it'll fit just at the end of your second trick attack, as opposed to you waiting to get your second trick attack. Then the third one is just going to be your Hellfrog medium. That's fine. And then it just kind of repeats from there throughout the fight. So I don't think it's a very interesting way for the gauge to work, but with the way that your auto attacks and Mug end up lining up, it almost feels like it was pretty well designed with the way that the rest of Ninja's skills actually line up. So I think you are going to really enjoy it because they have some really high output with some of their new skills. Bavakakra is super strong. Tenchi Jin hits like a fucking truck. May even make single target Dotons worth using once the math actually comes out for all that stuff. And then the Hellfrog medium is actually a pretty satisfying skill to use, especially in AoE situations. So I think you'll actually really enjoy Ninja. Next one, we got 10 questions to go. Hey, hello, Mr. Happy, long-time viewer, first-time poster, so I have a first-time bonus of a real-life Asuna. Well, I'm feeling better now, but I'll take that for next time. How about that? My question is quick. I watched your video on Samurai. I want to know if the Kenki or sends timeout. No, they don't. I mean, here's the thing. Here's what you won't be able to do. Hit a dummy, get 100 Kenki, get 3 sends, and then queue into a dungeon. That you won't be able to do. But otherwise, they don't time out. No. So if you're going through a dungeon and you generate some sends, you could theoretically generate 3 sends before the boss pull, and then do a 3-cent opener. And then generate those sends with Mako again right at the beginning. So yeah, it should prove to be quite fun to do. That's true of most of the gauges in the game, by the way. All right, next question. Hey, Happy, how's it going? Okay, so I have 2 questions. Both are hopefully pretty simple. We're only going to do the first one. Are job gauges a permanent thing, or can they be turned off? In my opinion, I've never been happy about them since they were revealed, and was wondering if there's any way to remove them. So they are permanent. They are how you keep track of those mechanics. Grease Lightning 3 no longer pops up in your buff bar, so you have to use the gauge in order to see it. That being said, they said they're in the process of developing a minimalistic look for them, and I know that somebody else asked last week if they'll be able to turn them off. So, and then just track it through their buff bar like they used to. So I would provide your feedback to Square Enix about your feeling about it and see if they actually put some development time towards giving you that minimalistic approach. Hey, Happy, longtime viewer and first-time poster, so I have a fist time bonus. I know he meant to say first, but fist time bonus sounds great. Whatever kind of craft beer or drink you like, I'll take a sour, thank you. I apologize if you've answered this question a million times, but I'm curious if Stormblood will have the Warring Triad style story. I'm assuming you mean for, like, the primals, because, I mean, we have the Interdimensional Rift as a story. There's going to be other side stories, whether or not they're deeply tied to each other via the primals. That I can't give you a definitive answer about, but there will be a lot of side story quests. Next one. Hey, how's it going, Haps? It's going good. I can't believe I'm actually getting through all these questions. Haven't asked a question in a while, so returning player bonus of a bag of cookies. You're my hero. This is why I need to go back to the gym. This is no simple bag. Think of it like Mary Poppins' bag. Oh, you just opened Pandora's box for me, my friend. I want to ask you about Warrior. If you're not gonna, I know you're not a Warrior main, which yes, I'll say that before I answer this question. Not an intelligent Warrior player. Xeno is someone you'd rather ask for that. But I think the change to Warrior, if they are good changes. So they're thematically good because they kind of put emphasis on the things that people really talk about most with Warrior. But losing Bloodbath, losing Second Wind, losing Internal Release, there are things that kind of suck in sort of a bubble when you compare it to when you did have those tools in 3.x. That being said, I think Warrior will be okay, but honestly, my bigger concern is them losing Path. Path was universally one of the best debuffs in the game, which is why Warrior was the must-have tank. But seeing Paladin's throughput increase as much as it did, both their defensive and offensive throughput, is kind of concerning with Warrior not really having much of an answer otherwise, because people have started doing some theoretical math of potencies that aren't final yet, and are finding that Warrior is probably still going to be taken, but at the same time, Paladin has kind of just through the fucking roof, like, to Warrior status, like Warrior 3.x status, potentially. So I think Warrior's changes are fun, but whether or not they're good, I'll leave that till we have all the answers. And I'll leave that to the experts. Next one. Hey, Haps. How you doing? I'm doing all right. How you doing? First time question, long time listener, so please have a first time bonus of no Qs while leveling Red Mage or Samurai. That's fucked up, man. So my question is pretty simple. You got a chance to get a feel for Red Mage. Did you manage to take notes on the job abilities to regenerate mana? So from what I understand, the tooltip that was supposed to tell us about their mana regeneration was actually missing. Apparently there is something that helps them generate mana. I don't know if it was critical hits. I don't remember if it was impact procs. Maybe someone on the forums has found like a statement from a Japanese tooltip or from Yoshi P from an interview that would be more clear. But somebody did the math that without any MP traits, they would probably run dry in about 5 to 6 minutes with Lucid Dreaming, which is not efficient enough. That's compared to the way that Summoner still has Ether Flow built in on top of Lucid Dreaming. Black Mage is infinite MP, so who the hell cares? I do think that they'll need something else, even if it's proc based, to give them even just a tiny bit more MP back when it comes to Red Mage. Next question. Hey, Mr. Happy. Greetings from Germany. Have a bonus of instant level for your first job. We have those. Those are called jump potions, my friend. No, I'm kidding. I already have all the other jobs at 60. You can't use them on Red Mage and Samurai anyway. Thank you. I'm looking forward to playing Bard again since I switched to Dragoon for my static, but we broke apart and I really like the changes they revealed. The Bow Mage wasn't much of a problem, I think, in Heavensward. What do you think since you played Machinist? So I actually, in 3.x, I was a fan of the changes to Bard in 3.x. I didn't really play Machinist till the end, but I ended up liking Machinist better than Bard by the time I got through all of 3.x, having played both of them to some degree. That being said, when I got to play Bard and Machinist for about 15 to 20 minutes each at the media tour, I found Bard to be way more fun. I mean, Machinist I also didn't understand entirely because our tooltip was mistaken when it came to overheating. That being said, that doesn't really add a whole lot. It just gives you a very clear window of power in which to utilize with Wildfire. And Bard was just constant action and constant support, and it was a lot of fun. So I think Bard will be more fun for my tastes come 4.x. But Machinist wasn't bad. It just wasn't as much to my liking as Bard was. Oh, so close to done. Hi, Mr. Happy. Prisman Raijin here. Really should have asked this question earlier in the week, but hopefully you can get to it. Answer in need bonus. A tomahawk steak. I love tomahawk steaks. Oh, Mel and I had one of those for one of our anniversaries one year. It was so good. I've been running the benchmark on both my laptop and desktop for the last couple weeks, trying to figure out an issue. I can pass the bench with my laptop, which isn't an HD monitor, but I'm registering slightly lower, which is on 2 HD graphics cards, albeit a little old. Does the benchmark measure the graphics limit of the PC, or does it measure the processor? It's measuring the complete package. It's not measuring any one aspect of your computer. It's taking the whatever limits it can push on everything and pushing them as far as it can. So if your graphics aren't the limiting factor, something else might be. Okay, almost done. Hey, Happy. When you were on the media tour, did you see if any of the Eggies look different? No, they did not, from what I could see. I have some Summoner footage, but you can see that Garuda doesn't really look different in that footage in my Summoner video. Next one. Hello, Mr. Happy. First time bonus here, so I have a Greek Moussaka. Yes, you are awesome. My question is, how can I get raid experience as a tank, as it is a wipe if the tank messes up most of the time? A lot of the times, tanks end up being the ones who make groups, in my experience. And a lot of times, they just grab people who they play with normally, and they're trying to get some experience. And everyone kind of wants to get some experience. So you guys go together, and it's a complete shit show, but at least you guys start to practice and learn which ones of you are cut out for raid, which ones of you aren't. So I would just get involved in a larger link shell or free company that focuses on newer players and getting them raid experience, or just as people who are interested in it, and that'll probably be what ends up working out for you best. I know you can't get a static group because real life doesn't let you have standard playtimes. Okay, yeah, so it ends up coming down a lot to the party finder. For those people, a lot of the time it's just keep trying, and chugging along until they find something that works. 2 questions left. Ahaps, how you doing? I'm doing alright. You doing alright? He's doing alright. Maybe she's doing alright. I don't know. He or she. A while since I asked questions of a bonus of a level 70 jump potion for your crafters. See, some people just know me so fucking well. Thank you. My question for you, good sir. I play 14 for the story, but also for a challenge. Because of my schedule, I can't raid, so as a substitute, I try to master the hardest jobs each patch. Currently, I'll be heading into Stormblood with Dark, Bard, Summoner, Ninja, and Astro. My question is, what job in each role do you think will be the hardest to master? I think Samurai and Ninja are pretty close to tied for mastery for melee DPS. For ranged, I can't tell you. I don't think Machinist will be harder than Bard, so I'm going to go with Bard in that case. For the casters, I don't know. They're all a lot easier, and it's definitely not Red Mage. It might be Summoner, but I can't. I didn't get to try Black Mage, so I won't answer for caster. Tank? Shit. I mean, tanks. Maybe Dark Knight still. Paladin seems to be pretty straightforward, but we have to see how much they need to really pay attention to their mitigations and their tank swaps and whatnot, because that could add another bit of difficulty that I'm not really anticipating. And for healers, I mean, healers are healers, man. The Astro, the struggle is pulling the right cards. Scholar, it's just fucking, you don't do any AoE damage anymore. And White Mage is White Mage. So, I mean, like, you can't really pick one out of that the most. But I guess Astro, if you really like the feeling of pulling those cards randomly. And I can't believe I've done it. The final fucking question. We only had to skip a few of them due to White Mage questions. I think like 2 or 3. Yo, Habs, glad to see you're back at good health. You've probably gotten a pile of questions about the media event, but I hope this one's a little different. So, also, this is more about classes or jobs that were available in 2.0. Is there a job that you played at the media event that feels like it's just grown better over time since A Realm Reborn? That's an interesting question. Oh, man. I don't know that I have a good answer for that. I think Dragoon, maybe. I didn't even get to play Dragoon, but just looking at how their kit has evolved, going from a job that was made fun of for the animation locks, then having the animations reduced, still present, but reduced, then getting the extra magic defense and some of their damage from blood for blood, the amount of damage they take being reduced, that got better. Then they got Battle Litany and Disembowel was crazy important for the meta. That was great. Now they're getting an additional damage buff, some potency buffs in Nastron. I just look at the general progression of Dragoon from 2.0 to now, and I think that one might be my #1 contender for has always just grown in a direction that's just made the job, if not always better and better, more enjoyable. So I'm going to go with Dragoon as my go-to answer for that one, even though I didn't get to play Dragoon at the event. I think we can collectively agree it's gotten better and better for them over time. But anyway, that was the final question on the forums. I can't believe I fucking answered all of them. This is going to be a long video, but we had a lot of short questions, and I got to skip a few questions in there. Holy shit, but there's no way I have time for questions on Twitch, because that was a shit ton of questions that I can't even believe I just got through. Editing is going to be great tonight. But anyway, guys, that's going to be my last question for this week's episode of Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you have any questions, and if you see 61 questions, please only ask 1 question per post. I'm begging you, make it a good one. Go to the description of the video, go to the Dream Network forums, ask the question there. That's the best way to guarantee that I see it and that it gets answered. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap for this video. I'm going to hang out with my Twitch chat for a few more minutes because they've been discussing things this entire time, and I'm going to give them a little bit of time because I didn't give them any time to ask questions here. But thank you. I'll see you next week for the next Mondays with Mr. Happy. And guess what? Less than 2 weeks will be less than 1 week for next week's episode. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you guys then. Until then, take care.